across Africa. We know the problems, we've lived them, felt them, carried them. But the real question is, how do we fix them? This December, we are choosing to rethink what's possible with Giant Strides Summit 2025. Theme, the Third World Advantage. From the 4th to the 7th of December, seasoned thought leaders will chart the path forward for those determined to build their future from here. For every young African seeking clarity, direction, and strategy, this is for you.
Amazing, amazing, amazing. I don't know if I can feel the excitement today? Can I feel the excitement? Today is the grand finale of the GSS 2025 Summit. Let's get started. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, everybody, whatever your time zone is, and wherever you're watching us from. This is the Giant Strides Summit grand finale. If you are with me, if you are here already, just drop a fire emoji in the comment section. Today is the grand finale. I am super pumped. I am super excited. It has been such a journey. I don't know about you, but I have been greatly blessed. A lot of things has gone through my notes. You're welcome everybody. Welcome everybody to the grand finale. Yesterday was a lot. I'm sure some persons have not recovered from yesterday, right? The high points was on influence, how you match ideologies with ideologies. You can't just leave things in a vacuum, right? You have to replace something with something. And then who is in your ears? Who are your maps and mirror? Who is speaking to you? And that can be mirrored in your decisions, your life choices. You can trace that to who you are consuming, who you are listening to. Yes, so welcome everybody. You are welcome to the Giant Strides Summit grand finale. If you know anyone that ought to be here that is not here, take a few seconds to call them to come join the live. Share the link. Don't hold. Remember, during Sir Egu Nana's session and also Mezedi Sage, we spoke about how that, you have to be a good friend to have a good friend, to have good company and connection. So one of the ways you can even prove your friendship is by sending valuable content to them like this one and not just gossip. So please do well to reach out to your friends, ask them to come. Today is the grand finale. You can't afford to miss it. It's going to be loaded. And heavy. Yes, please. I'll give us a few seconds to do that while I continue with what I'm saying. So today we have I am really excited. You can feel the excitement, right? I honestly don't want this to end. I honestly don't want Giant Strides Summit. I don't know about you, but I honestly don't want it to end because it's just like we're just building blocks and it's just going on a climax. And today we are at the peak. And wow, it's really been such a journey. So today we have with us a very seasoned speaker, the person of Dr. Bima, Dr. Barnabas Macaulay. So I'll be welcoming him upstage as he take over. So please, media team, help me with the profile. Okay, Dr. Barnabas Macaulay, popularly known as Dr. BMAC, is a trained optometrist, multidimensional artist, life coach, and the host of the Modus Operandi podcast. Over the past decade, he has dedicated himself to facilitating personal development and mentoring hundreds of young people now spread across the world. Passionate about history, community, faith, and holistic growth, Dr. BMAC inspires his audience to develop intellectually, spiritually, and socially, blending his expertise in science, art, and communication to create meaningful impact. Wow, amazing. So if your hands are not busy, join me as I welcome upstage Dr. BMAC as he take it up from here. Thank you so much, Dr. BMAC. We are so happy to have you. Can we celebrate him in the comment section as he come up stage?
You. Okay, it's nice to be here. Nice to be in the grand finale of this auspicious event. I'm excited anyway. I'm excited to share some ideas I believe are going to be life-changing. They'll be life-changing actually, to give a healthy perspective of why we are all here and all that. Anyways, I've been introduced. So first of all, I want to give a very big shout out to the organizers of this symposium. It's a privilege to be selected to speak. I don't take it for granted. It is something that I consider an honor. Any opportunity to influence, to speak, I usually don't take it for granted. And I am quite happy. Yeah. So we'll begin the talk. I have the all my stuff written here. Yep, slides and all that. But I'll try to be as spontaneous as I can while having the pointers in my head. So we're talking about the strengthening Africa's pillars, which is family, and then we have community, and we have culture. So strengthening African pillars, which are family, culture, and community. Of course, this year's Giant Stride Summit is talking about third world advantage. Of course, we are described as a third world continent. And sometimes the description is insulting anyway. Well, however derogatory the description is, we know that somehow we are not among the developed nations so far. And it shouldn't be an identity, but it should just be a pointer to where we currently are, which will fuel our drive to become who we are truly, right? So third one, what are the advantages that we have as Africans in the modern conversation? What is our place? Who are we? Why are we here? What are the weaknesses? How did we get to this point? It's a large conversation that an hour we will not address. Many books have addressed different aspects of this conversation, from history to psychology to sociology to economy to religion. It goes on and on and on and on and on and on. However, I'll be talking about some core pillars that defines us as Africa, starting from the concept of family, talking about our community and our culture. So when I say local, when I say this food you're eating is local, what comes to your mind? When I say that music is local, what comes to your mind? I'm very sure what comes to your mind is it is whack, it is diluted, it is adulterated, it's not good. Local, just within the community, not known, something obscure. Right? When I say something is foreign, what comes to your mind? That suit, it's a foreign suit. What comes to your mind? When I say that music is foreign, when I say that dress is foreign, when I say that movie is foreign, what comes to your mind? What comes to your mind is something excellent, something that is standard, something that is great, something that is successful. So it says something that you have a bias, that subconsciously a bias has been ingrained in your subconscious as regards who we are as Africans. So what is local is perceived as what is adulterated, and what is foreign is perceived as what is superior. So what is local is inferior, what is foreign is superior. So it says something that there has to be a redefinition of who we are as Africans. Of course, we are on the journey. I'm not coming here to speak like you are not on the journey already. We are on the journey. But it can be more, it can be better. There are still persons who need answers to some questions. So the first question is, why am I African? Why am I African? What is the essence of being African? And before I go into that, on Tuesday, this was last week, I was in Benin hosting an event, another symposium called the Catalyst Symposium. So I was a moderator of the panel session discussing with a prof at the University of Benin, main auditorium. Professor Nwa Okocha. He said many years ago, he was in the US in a conference setting. He was the one speaking. After speaking, someone told him he has an accent. That was what someone told him, that he has an accent. Guess what he told the person? The person said, "You also have an accent. You also have an accent." And he educated the person on what accent means. And I really felt proud in that moment that here's someone who refused to be bullied, someone who refused to be defined unjustly by their accents. And come to think of it, what is accent? English language is not our original language. It's not our parlance, our original parlance. It is a borrowed parlance. If you're not English, it is normal to have an accent when speaking. So even in the US, according to him, he said, those in the Mississippi, they have their accent. Those in the southern part of the US have their accent. And truly, I listen to rap music. Southern rappers sound different from Eastern rappers or the West Coast rappers. They have their various accents over there in the US. So if a German is speaking English, it has an accent. If an Asian is speaking English, it has an accent. If Cyril Ronaldo, for instance, speaks English, those of us who watch football, we know how it sounds. There's an accent. So even now in Nigeria, because of a misplaced context of identity, we now attribute intelligence to the ability to speak good English. Of course, it is important to speak good English because it is one of the international recognized trade, language of trade, language of commerce. So you need to learn it, but it is not your identity, but it is borrowed. It does not define your intelligence. So speaking English as a Yoruba person, if you're a Yoruba person, and there's the H factor, don't try to cancel the H factor. It is what it is. It is not a limitation in code. It is a borrowed language. So what a prof told them was that how you expect me to learn to perfect this language in accordance to your accent, but you're not willing to make any efforts to learn mine. That is someone who understands the importance of identity, authenticity. So in Africa today, there is a serious problem of inauthenticity. And that comes from a place of not knowing who we are, not knowing why we are here. Why am I African? Why was I born in Nigeria? Why was I born into a Nigerian family? First of all, I'll establish that there is no such thing as random when it comes to the concept of life. Anything called random is only superficial. Fundamentally, there is no random. Everything that exists was first designed before its existence. So there is God, the creator, the ultimate intelligence to all things. Before he makes a thing, he first makes the thing. That is, he first assigned a purpose to that thing before physically manifesting that thing in the physical dimension of the earth. So it is very important to know that life is both metaphysical and physical. So everything in life points us to the direction. If you're a backend engineer, is responsible for the ones and zeros. So the UX designer is responsible for the visuals. But you must understand that what happens to the interface is dependent on the ones and zeros, which means you create first before creating. The ones and zeros, the algorithm must first be determined before the UI UX, right? If you are creating a house, you need to lay the steels. You need to have the blueprint. You need to have the architectural design of that house. Then afterwards, you create it in the physical dimension. So you create before creating. We are copying what happens in the spiritual. So purpose comes first before creation. Purpose comes first before creation. It is not myth, it is real. Using this physical example. So spirituality is logical, only that it is a higher form of logic. So you can sometimes use physical realities to explain it. So this is very important in understanding why one is Africa, why one is African, why you were born in Nigeria, why you were born a Togolese, why you were born in South Africa. Now, I will now talk about what talents means. When we talk about talent, I will tie it to why you are African. When we say talent, what comes to mind is the ability to sing, the ability to dance, the ability to paint and draw and do all that. Well, cool, but that is not what talent primarily means. Those are just other forms of talent. Talent primarily, by definition, is your currency of operation on earth. It is your currency of operation in this globe. What God has given you, what you have been given as a person to operate with according to the context of your life, the time you were born, the family you were born into, your natural propensities, the things you just love naturally, in quotes, those are your talents. So it means that being African is a talent. It is a currency of operation on earth, as the maker decided to give it. So it designed you with this skin color, with this background, historical context, with its beauties, with its ugliness, and with its perfection and its imperfection, to trade with on earth. So you are here with this talent to trade. You are not here to just live, to just it's all random. I was born here randomly, and I'm just supposed to just be that way. There's a saying that when the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. When the purpose of a thing is unknown, abuse is inevitable. So if I do not know the purpose of a cup, for instance, I will tend to use it as a baseball tool or whatever it is. So the place of purpose is what defines identity. It's what defines identity. So if there is no purpose as to why you are here as an African, as a Nigerian, you will struggle with the concept of identity. And there is this powerful thing. When you have not find definitions for yourself, the world will tell you who you are not. When you have not defined who you are, the world will tell you who you are not. And you will take that definition, you will take that narrative, inculcating it as your own. Meanwhile, that is not who you are. So talent is the currency of operation. Now, as individuals, we all have various talents. I will link this to the continental conversation, but in understanding the complex, you must first understand the simple, right? Everybody has different types and forms, shapes of talent. Some people are generally finer than you. Some people are generally more intelligent than you. Some people, you are more finer than other people physically, more intelligent. Some people have natural inclination to finance, commerce. It comes natural for them. While for some persons, it's arts. Some persons, it's movies. So talent comes in different forms. Essentially, no person is superior compared to the next person. No person is superior compared to the next person, essentially speaking. But by numbers, some have higher degrees in these talents, in this currency of operation compared to others. For instance, someone who is born a Caucasian, that is a talent, his currency of operation, one of his talents, one of their talents, right? It does not mean that they are essentially better than me, who is an African. This person born a Caucasian has been given the talent of sophistication in terms of development, because he was born in the era where it seems as though they are more developed in terms of modernization, in terms of technology and science, education, and all the important elements that defines a society. It does not mean essentially that person is better than I am. So at the end of life, the giver of the talent will ask this Caucasian, with these several opportunities that I've given to you, what did you do with it? Remember the parable of the talents. The giver gave individuals in different forms. One had one, the other had two, the third had three, the third had five. And they were expected. Numbers doesn't matter, but the point is they all had different variations of numbers, different sizes. At the end of the day, the giver asked, What did you do with the talent that was given to you? How did you trade with the talent? So the giver of your talent will ask you, as an African, how did you trade with this identity that was given to you? How did you trade with this reality and the era you were born in? Because someone who was born in the 21st century, the standards of judgment will be different from someone who was born in the 14th century. You guys have different opportunities. A friend of mine who is currently in Switzerland, she was asking me, like, someone who is 20 years old is already owning businesses, doing well, like, look at her just coming there in her 30s. How do you, it's not fair. And I told her that at the end of life, the standards of judgment differs. But here's the point. This definition of talent enables you on a personal level not feel superior to those you are better than. Neither will it make you feel inferior to those who seem better than you in numbers, because we are all better than each other in different things. This definition is holistic, so that I do not define an extreme form of Pan-Africanism that makes me feel superior compared to other continents. No, the essence of this symposium, the essence of this conference is for the sake of understanding who we are, knowing our strengths and knowing how to trade with these strengths without being ignorant of our weaknesses and how to taper them. It's as simple as that. Because when you teach people an over bloated sense of self, what happens is a replay of what happened in the 15th century, that is colonization, and in the 19th century during the Industrial Revolution, the second part of colonization, and then slavery. So you have a form of superiority complex. Meanwhile, you are not in essence superior compared to any other tribe, any other continent, any other nation. You only have your function. The essence of identity is many things. Is many things. Now, having said that, you know that why you're an African. You know you're an African to fulfill a purpose given to you by the giver of the purpose, God, right? And you also know that as a result of that, you have your identities, things that defines you as African. There's the culture, there's the traditions, there's the way of life, there is the ideology, there is the mythology that we have, there is the history. These are the things that defines us as Africans. Now, on a personal level, which is going to span into the generic level, because you must understand this. You must understand things at both microscopic level and at macroscopic level. That is MICRO, scopic, then MACRO, scopic, right? The price an individual has to pay for identity is that they will be limited in certain places. That is what it means. If you are all things all the time, you are nothing. The reason why a fish can be defined as a fish is because it is an animal that lives in the sea, in the water habitat, in the liquid habitat. You know, it has gills, it has things that defines it as a fish. So it means that if that is a fish, it does not have wings, it does not roar, it does not have four limbs. So it is called legitimate limitations that defines it as a fish. It means that the fan cannot be the TV, neither can the TV be the bulb. Everything has what defines them as the thing. Every person has what defines them as a person, and that includes their strengths and legitimate weaknesses, or I would say legitimate limitations. So as Africans, we have our strength and we have our limitations, both legitimate and illegitimate. That is what defines you as an African. Rather than wasting so much time now on an individual level, you are not that. Africans are beautiful, of course, there's no standards to beauty. On an individual level now, you are not that beautiful, for instance, and your friend is more beautiful than you are. So let's say that what is trending now is beauty. And let's say your beauty is like 5/10. Do you know that it's actually fine that it is 5/10? It is okay if it is 5/10. There are other things that you have at 9/10. Why deform yourself to fit in? Then how do you define progress? Is progress defined by the fish leaving its water habitat to fly just because the eagle now, its flight is what is trending? It's even in scriptures. Mount up on your wings, mount up with wings like eagles. Does it make the fish lower in essence? Absolutely not. Bringing it to the African context, there are things that we don't have, sometimes are legitimate. We should not deform our identity by trying to be who we are not, just because that is what is trending globally. The world badly needs you to become an African, because if you are not fully an African, an important puzzle of the world is missing. It means other continents will not be complete. We all complete ourselves. We all formulate an important aspect of ourselves. Now, back to the microscopic level. A man has 3 chambers within himself. And these 3 chambers can only be fulfilled. Now, let me use the word can only be filled as a result of the relationship he has with 3 entities. Now, we have the chamber I call the God chamber. The second chamber is the self chamber. The third chamber is the others chamber. The first chamber, the God chamber, can only be filled as a result of the relationship he has with his maker, the person who made him an African in the first place. The second chamber is as a result of the relationship he has with himself, which is of course influenced by the first chamber, the God chamber. Then the third chamber, the others chamber, is only filled as a result of the relationship he has with others. These are what makes a man. So on the macro level now, if Africa is just solitary, it is not mingling with other continents, it is missing a puzzle, the others chamber. And also the others, if in their chamber they're not connecting with Africans, they will never be happy. So the essence of life, it was formulated for the sake of unity, not uniformity. There is a difference between unity and uniformity. I will come into that later. You know, sometimes they may look alike, but they're fundamentally different. So I'll go into the other points of the slide so I don't go off. So what are our strengths? And before I come into our strengths, I was talking about extreme Pan-Africanism. Just like you have racists in the Western countries, that there's the KKK in the US. They attack Black people, right? It is extreme form of the idolatry of identity, whereby you feel like your identity is superior, your race is superior compared to the other race. So we're not teaching extreme Pan-Africanism. That is not the essence of this conference. Extreme Pan-Africanism, it's saying that my culture, my values, they are superior compared to other people's values. No. As long as there is no such thing as a perfect human being, so we can say that there is no thing as a perfect culture. Because I've seen extreme nationalism, extreme Pan-African, I've seen all forms of this. They are evil in themselves. They are evil in themselves. There is no such thing as a superior culture. There is no such thing as an inferior culture. As long as there is no such thing as a superior person and an inferior person, fundamentally speaking, there is no such thing. So it means that Proper identity, like I said in the beginning, is recognizing my strengths, recognizing my limitations, both the legitimate ones and the illegitimate ones. So this calls for a healthy form of dependence, which means that I am sincere with myself to say that there are certain aspects of my behavior that are not all right. So when I look at the next person, when I see certain behavior that has propagated the progress of their life, what should I do? Imbibe that without necessarily destroying my core values. That is basically it. That is basically it. So the problem over the centuries have been complex problems of extremes, manipulation, who is telling the tale, who is selling the narrative. During the colonial era, which was a huge disservice to the African community, to the African continent, one of the greatest damages it did was on the psychological front. So the Westerners told us that our culture was inferior. They told us we were an inferior species of humans. So they used that as a means to introduce their own culture, their own education, their own religion, their own way of life, basically. Another thing they did was they made us hate each other. Imagine a weak man who went to work, working for a toxic boss. The toxic boss calls him all kinds of names. You are a useless man. You are a failure. Look at what you are doing. Then this man starts to hate himself. He comes home and pour it on his wife. Pour it on the children. That's what they did. They told us we were inferior. So we started hating ourselves. We have tribalism, concept of xenophobia now. Hating ourselves because we have been told that we are the inferior race, that they were the superior race, that they are the superior race. What happened in Rwanda? The genocide. They were told, a particular tribe, faction of the Rwandan population was told that they were superior compared to by the Westerners. And of course, what that does is that you start harboring bitterness. Was it in Barbados, the Caribbeans, where you have a system whereby the half-caste are placed as superior compared to those who are black? So these things are ingrained in your subconscious. That is why when I started this conversation, I said, when I say the word local, what comes to your mind? You automatically think inferior. Meanwhile, local simply means within my vicinity. So if someone in France now, let's say they have a music, a style of music, to them, it is their local music. To them, our own music will be foreign. But the definition is no longer on the basis of demographic divide. It is now very psychological. We have co-joined it with what defines our core values. There was a time in Nigeria, still hitting on this point, when not listening to African music made you refined. I don't listen to Nigerian music. I don't watch Nollywood movies. It reduces your IQ. No, you are seeing how foolish we all have been. I've been like that. I was once like that. Music back in the early 2000s. I only listened to Usher Raymond. I only listened to Michael Jackson. Who is Sonia Ade? It's just plain foolishness. So how do you expect another household as a continent now to value what you have when you have already downplayed the uniqueness of your culture, the uniqueness of your narrative? How do you expect them? Yes, we've had experience of unfair treatment as a continent, but we should not forget that we also have our limitations. And one of the limitations that we had, still hitting on this whole current point I'm hitting on as regard extremes, is that there was human sacrifices, there was infanticide, Mary Slessor stopped the killing of twins in Calabar. There were a lot of truly barbaric stuff we were doing that were part of our culture. However, it's not unique to Africans. The same can be said of the, in quote, Westerners. There was witch burning. Once they suspect that you're a witch, they will burn you alive. It was barbaric. Very barbaric. So every culture in the annals of history have exhibited imperfections and perfections, and we are not excluded as Africans. So what have other continents done rightly? Some, they have abolished practices associated with their culture and adapted new ones that fosters the advancements of their continent without necessarily abolishing their values. That's basically it. That's basically it. That's why we are here. So what are our values? What are our values as Africa? One of them is family. The second is community. The third is our culture. For some continents, they have made a big mistake. Under the guise of progressivism, under the guise of being progressive, they have imbibed practices that do not necessarily define who they are, while abolishing core values that defines where they are from, who they are. There is no identity anymore. There is no fulfillment. You would then wonder why there is this high rise of depression over there in the West. Of course, it is creeping into Nigeria, into Africa. Hey, don't say stuff that like it is because we're not that aware. That is why it seems as though it's increasing. No. It's a combination of that and the fact that we've been imbibing certain practices that do not define who we are as Africans, thereby experiencing the consequences of such adaptations. Family. What is family? Family is the basic unit of a society. What defines a healthy society is determined by the essence of the family, of that very, very crucial unit in that society. A healthy family formulates a healthy society. Remember the principle from the beginning, micro to macro. To understand complex stuff, understand the simple. It's as simple as that. So if you want to make progress, you have to tackle it from the fundamental aspect. That is the aspect of family. And over the centuries, Africa as a continent is one of those continents that have prioritized the sacredness of family. We live in the modern age, which is a beautiful thing. But one of the perks, did I use the word perks? One of the concerns of modernization, of modernism, is the glorification of hustle and isolation. There is a high level of individualism. Me. Be yourself, self-actualization. I don't care what people say. I don't care what they do. I'm alone. I'm free. Hustle culture. You work. And I'm going to say some things that will change your life. First of all, Jesus said, what shall it profit a man if he gains the whole world and loses his own soul? When we hear that, we think it's internal condemnation, just internal condemnation. But by the time I'm done, you understand, it's not just that. It's also now. So life is about making profit. Yeah, people don't like to believe that, but it is the truth. Life is, at the end of the day, life is about profit. What profit did you make? Because in the parable of the talent, the giver of the talent asked them, okay, now, what do you do with this thing where I give you? Like, how far, where, how did you do? Where the profits? Where is it? So the question is, what then is profit? Is profit primarily numbers alone? Or there is much more to what profit means? Not all gains are defined by numbers. Don't forget it. Not all gains are defined by numbers. Now, numbers have their place. Economy. There is the principle of the numbers, but there are laws that govern numbers. Yes. So it is a dangerous thing to be on either side of the extreme. Let's use the principle of empathy now, which is law. It governs numbers. But if you're on the extreme, you're a doctor, you own a clinic, every patient that walks up to you and say, please, sir, my family, please do it for free, do it for free. And you're treating them for free. You're treating them for free. How then do you pay your staff? It means that you have sacrificed the importance of numbers under the guise of charity. The other extreme is the obsession with gain by numbers, profit by numericals, economic development by immediate profitability. So you're always looking for ways to nick the slightest 0.01, even at the expense of quality relationships, even at the expense of proper self-actualization, even at the expense of long-term development. Just now, I'll use an example. There is a country called the Israelites. So their ultimate leader is God. There was a time when they were in the wilderness. Their leader, who is God, told them, I'm going to feed you with manna. Right? He said, just take this portion, it will be enough for you. Guess what happened? Those who took more than they should and those who took less, at the end of the day, the food will always be up to what they should consume. So if you took less, it will increase to the proportion you will need. If you took much more, it will reduce and come back to the exact proportion that you need. A principle was being taught. A principle not to be ruined by the concept of numerical gains. Rather, depending on the principle that control numerical gains. Both are important. So the world right now do not know the balance. Because of our myopic definition of economic growth, the Westerners, never use us as Africans, the Westerners, what they're doing is they're sacrificing family. There is the death of fatherhood in the West. And now I said family is the unit of the society, right? The unit of the family, the fundamental SI unit is the father. Because by creation, so they like to be off. So I'm going to use this slide any second. I was using, yep, okay. Just give me a moment. Okay, I hope this is good. I hope this is good. Good. Just give me a moment. Okay. Having light issues here. Yeah. So I had a backup because I expected the surprise. So maybe I should use this angle of the lighting. So yeah, one of the limitations of being an African. Yeah. Okay, so we're back. They were being taught not to depend primarily on numbers. They were being taught to depend on the principles that govern numbers. So that is the problem of the world today. Lack of balance. We are sacrificing our long-time factors for economic development, eventually by gains. We are sacrificing them. For example, family, the Westerners. But that is gradually creeping into the African system. Sacrificing family, sacrificing community. So, when I was about to get married, At first, I was like, why spend this amount of money? I'm getting somewhere. Why spend this amount of money? I wasn't supposed to use this example now. Why spend this amount of money? Yeah. Why spend this amount of money? I was like, ah. And I spoke to myself because what influenced that was that I saw the simple weddings that was being conducted in the West, whereby you have just 6 people, the husband and the wife is so easy. I like to talk to myself. and I called myself a fool. I started laughing. I said, you want to eat your cake and then you want to eat it and then have it. When in the African context, it's such a saying as it takes a community to raise a child. I will elaborate on that. Now you want to get married. You have enjoyed the benefit of being raised by a community, either directly or indirectly. Well, then you want to organize your wedding where the community will be involved. You're complaining about the money you'll be spending at your wedding. You're now saying that the wedding in the West is modern, is civilized. No, that's nonsense. That's nonsense. That's nonsense. So one of the reasons why you have such small weddings is not because of sophistication. It is a direct reflection of what has happened in their culture. If you check the 16th century, the 18th century, weddings in the West was not always like that, where you have few persons around and then they are wedded. It's as a result of sophistication that has been unhealthy, where there has been an unhealthy emphasis on profit by numbers rather than profit by value system like family. So you have a lot of individualism and less community. That something is foreign does not mean it is beneficial. It is a problem of identity which has now manifested into low self-esteem that makes us define anything foreign as superior and anything local as inferior. It is a problem of self-esteem that has been transferred from generations to generation, from the colonial era. Now, in the post-colonial era, it is being transferred. You go on the internet, a white guy or anyone is telling you how you are low. What defines you? There is a very beautiful quote I saw, and it's beautiful. It says, "Be you, the world will adjust." That is so true. The reason why the world has not adjusted so far when it comes to who we are as African, fully embracing us, although we don't need that validation, is because we have not fully been ourselves. And we have not fully been ourselves because of a problem of identity. We don't even know who we are. We don't even know who we are. We don't know the lines between imbibing a cultural aspect of another continent that is helpful and discarding the ones that is not helpful within ours. They are extreme, like Pan-Africanism, that will tell you Africa is superior without recognizing the fact that there was human sacrifices. Some things were truly demonic, but not everything cultural is demonic. Please, still give your children traditional names. I know it's ironic for a Dr. Macaulay Barnabas. The Macaulay is a Scottish name. The Barnabas is an Hebrew name. There's nothing totally wrong with imbibing your religious name, right? But it should never be at the expense of a traditional name. God made you an African for a reason. I borrowed this religion, so they said, right? But it was the truth. I see it as superior. I thought about it. I read the history of the religion. It was not a white man's religion, so to say. Then I imbibed it into mine. But without the expense of my context of an African. Then I also know what is demonic, because some things truly as Africans were demonic. Like I said, other continents had their imperfections. So it's recognizing which is which and not demonizing everything. If I show you cowries today, If I hang cowries around my neck, you'll probably think I'm demonic, or probably I'm using charm, because it's a narrative that has been sold to you over time. Eh? Put cowries on your neck or your hair. People will start looking at you funny, especially some Christians. But it has been demonized. But that is simply cultural. Cultural. So growing up is learning to ask yourself, what is actually helpful? What is actually needful? What does family bring to the table? Like I said, it is the important unit, SI unit of a society. What family does is, family is the primary institution for social safety. First of all, what does that mean? It means that for psychological importance, I am totally accepted, irrespective of my current results. So my living is not performative. I am aware that I can go out and try and explore because I have a family I can fall back to if all fails. True exploration happens from a place of rest. You can never be restful. You will always be hustling out of paranoia. That's what's happening. Because there's no family to fall back to in the West. And we don't want that here. You know that I am working from a place of rest. I am loved at home. I have a family. Family also helps. It gives purpose. It gives a sense of belonging, because I cannot know who I am when I don't know where I am from. Family is the first institution to teach me about my history, to teach me about my traditions and cultures, the important elements that defines me, that gives me my identity and my sense of belonging in this complex world, in this globe. So when I say family, it's the same thing as saying community as well, and culture, because they're all interconnected. So that is our strength as Africans. It not just gives us the immediate gain, it gives us the overall gain, profit both by numbers and by fulfillment. Now, if you are making profit by numbers, sacrificing family like the West are doing now, no fatherhood. And we know, according to statistics, 80% of prisoners are from fatherless homes. 70% of prostitutes from fatherless home. Dysfunctional people grow up from terrible family units. And eventually you cannot make economic progress when you have dysfunctional people all across the country, because you were focused on making immediate progress at the detriment of the fundamental principle, sacrificing numerical profits at the expense of the principle that controls numerical profit. That's why I said there is a principle of numbers, but there are principles that control the principle of numbers. That is how to think economically at the end of the day. At a personal level, this is very instructive. So you don't sacrifice lifelong relationship that will benefit you, because of temporal profits. And you call it smart. Is that not foolishness? What shall it profit a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul? That means people are part of what defines your soul. That is the problem of isolation that is being advertised across the globe. The hustle culture. That's why there's depression, because the downside of isolation is that there is fragmentation. You are disconnected from people that ought to fill the third vacuum. Like I said, the other vacuum, the other's vacuum. If these three chambers are not filled in our lives, we can never be fulfilled. It is the loss of soul. You gain the whole world and you lose your own soul. It's not just an eternal statement, it's a now statement. On a personal level as well, like I said. So you must be thinking values, the laws that controls the laws of numbers, and also be thinking numbers. So we don't want to be a foolish generation who is unaware of these definitions. We don't want to be sold a narrative either by racists or extreme Pan-Africanists. We are smart people, thinkers, who are able to understand context, know where to draw the line, know what is culture and know what is not, know what to imbibe and know what to discard. So it is not progress to annihilate family, community, or culture. It is not progress. Truth is neither progressive or conservative. And certain fundamentals of truth in life is family. No matter the sophistication, no matter the era, family is truth. It stays still. It is what defines the globe. No matter the era, no matter the season, no matter the time in history. So anybody who comes to you and tell you that's old school, that is a stupid person. Someone who is not well informed. And sometimes the most stupid people are usually the most arrogant. Usually the most arrogant. I'm getting the message. Okay. Usually the most arrogant. So family, they'll tell you black tax. I'll come into the conversation of black tax. Another thing family does is family gives you your first loan at a child's education. Truly, it takes a community to raise a child. Before, it used to be very direct. Now it's indirect. But it still takes a community to raise a child here in Africa. Don't let anybody introduce unhealthy cultural elements that do not define your core values. It is a form of arrogance to enforce my own value system on another person. It is tyranny. That was what Obama was trying to do during the Goodluck Jonathan era. He was trying to introduce some stupid elements. These are not what defines us. So if you cannot understand it, why should I relate with you? Especially when their core values is not human sacrifice. Like I said, no, as long as there's no perfect person, there's no perfect culture. What we do, just like in the micro context, is, if these practices are not helping my life, I will discard them and take in the one the next person is practicing without necessarily deforming my core values. So family is truth. It is always in vogue. It is always trendy, in quotes. It is always the truth. It is neither conservative or progressive. It is always true. That is truth for you. It is neither, because when we say progressive, it is this delusion of better. No, you can be progressive into malfunction. You can be progressive into malfunction. You have homes of fatherless homes, single parents, all over the place. Again, people can become single parent out of unfortunate circumstances. I'm talking about the one that is now programmed. Eventually, you raise dysfunctional people. You have an unhealthy society. And no society at all. No identity. No identity. So family gives you your first loan. It gives you your capital. Even as a community in the eastern part of Nigeria, there is this apprenticeship where you get to learn from a boss, and afterwards you are taught the tenets of a particular trade. After some time, you are given the opportunity to practice yours. That's community. The benefits of community. Every part of Africa, the concept of community. What about if there is insecurity in a particular street? What then happens? They call the men in that street to be doing vigilante every night. So this house will watch the streets this night. This week, the next week, this house will do theirs. That's community. That's community. However, I'm not here like a foolish person to sell you one narrative. Community also has its limitation. Now, let me tell you something, a principle. This is a quote from me. Show me a man's strength, and I will tell you his weaknesses. There's a saying, it's like in the strength is the weakness. So whatever is a strength can be a weakness. Now, community is a strength. But the weakness is that of community sometimes is it can introduce stagnancy. Yes. It may not be able to take in innovations quickly. Then sometimes I ask myself, now this is just a harmless question. What if there was no colonialism? Would our strength as community, would it have enabled us engage in certain innovations like science and technology, for instance? If a community is saying that, oh, children are dying, children are having leg issues, and that is polio, by the way, and which are attributed to a particular god, if someone says, no, it is not the god, will the community not ostracize that person? Call the person delusional? Sometimes I wonder if some things were not forced, unjustly so, would there have been certain changes or introduction, healthy ones, some of them, medicine, education, even though some of them, most of them were, they were just a means to an end to take from us. So we had growth without development. But sometimes I wonder, would community have allowed us the limitations of it, because in the strength is the weakness. That's the downside of community. So now, speaking against individualism is not condemning it entirely. Here are the pros of individualism. One of the important pros of individualism is it enables innovation, free thinking. I am not bound by the limitations of community. That is why it was introduced in the first place, because they saw the extreme of community unchecked. So one of the beauty of being an African is that since we are in quotes now, before I go into this, there is the early achievers and late achievers. From a micro perspective, there are people who you can call early achievers. They go married on time, finish school on time, give back on time, achieve what we call success on time. They will have late achievers, those who achieved it. So this same thing at the age of 40, 50, thereabouts. Essentially, none is better than the other because some things happen by design, not because of your decision. Now, this is not fatalism. This is the beautiful comprehension or beautiful relationship between man's free will and what has been determined. Anyway, that's a conversation for another day. Now, as Africans, we are what you call late achievers. The advantages of being a late achiever is that we are on the bench. We are watching those who are on the field of play playing. What should you be doing? That is why we have this symposium, this conference, to learn from their mistakes and not make the same mistakes. Last week, I saw how some people were talking about how Extra Obi, the founder of Paystack, one of the founders of Paystack, because he has this weird lifestyle. His individualism made him an innovator, in quotes. Of course, the downside of individualism is that you are disconnected from community. What defines you as a person? That you start behaving weirdly. But I saw how people were criticizing him. Plus, his individualism led to his innovation. You preaching community, what has it done for you? So the point here is, community is our strength. Since we are watching the West, we are on the bench now, in quotes, and they are on the field of play. We're not going to make the same mistake. They had community too. They did not become this way all of a sudden. No. So what we'll do as Africans is that we know our strengths, community. We also know well enough to recognize the limitations of community. We may sometimes hinder people from being individualistic. having a false definition of unity, thinking unity means uniformity. Now I'm here. I said I was going to define the difference. Unity is primarily being one-minded. Uniformity is speaking alike, looking alike, dressing alike, talking alike. Why uniformity may sometimes aid unity, it is not what unity is. So it means that, yes, it's good we look alike, we're all dark skinned. There's a sense of comradeship. There's a sense of community, belonging, right? That does not mean we should limit ourselves to just that. We should welcome healthy individualism, what I will call responsible individualism, the one that does not discard itself from its community. We should welcome it. That is where innovation comes from. And that is important in the last scheme of things, in the global conversation. Then how do we inculcate our culture in this digital age? People are traveling. The Japa syndrome. I'm not here to speak against or for it. It's fine, it's good. But the root problem is the problem. How do we promote our culture? We're already doing it. We're doing it through music. We have Afrobeats to the world. We have the ambassadors like Wizkid, Davido, Burna Boy. We have Arya Star. We have Thames pushing the frontiers of our music, which contains our balance, which contains our stories and narrative in this music. So it's our trade. Like I said, the person who says that you are less don't even know that they need you to become fully you. It is for their own good, because we all complete each other. Look at now, they're consuming our music. Whether they are consuming it now or not, it does not validate the music. The reason they are consuming it is because we at a point saw that, wait, our music sounds good. We became the first proponent of our music. Then teach your children. There is this traditional Igbo animation I saw. They were singing Igbo songs and that. Teach your children. Every year, go home. Keep tabs with your family. In the digital age, be conscious. If you're not outside the country, there's what we call the 15-minute rule. Converse, drop your phone, listen attentively. That's how we promote our culture. Be you. The world will adjust. Of course, when I say be you, it does not mean just be imperfect. Constantly strive for progress. Not the ones that kills your person, right? Anyways, that is all I have to say. Like I said, I hope I have said so much that is helpful. You know, I wish I could say more, but I think that's enough.
That was amazing, Dr. B. Mark. Ooh, I'm giving a round of applause from my end. That was amazing. So, guys, please drop your questions. If you have a question, kindly drop your question. It has really been a lot. So, I'm curious. I want to ask a question while the question and answer session is ongoing. So, you talk about individualism. What's the thin line between individualism and copycat? Trying to emulate, you're trying to, okay, just like, let me just give a perfect example, right? There's this thing that is popular with Nigerians I have seen, right? Once there's something that comes out, everybody starts to jump into it, and before you know, that thing crashes, right? For example, Web3, crypto, everybody, boom. Even, okay, Web3, there was a time that we had a surge of affiliate marketing. It was as though the whole half of the youths in the whole Nigeria. No, it was as though 70% were into affiliate marketing, right? This. But then how do we now balance trying to between, oh, you're trying to copy something, or you're doing something and you want to still maintain your individualism, or even at maintaining your individualism, you want to learn, not that you want to, oh, you want to be like this person in entirety. What's the divide? Is it, oh, let me learn, let this person just be an entire mirror to me, or I just, so that's just my question about the individualism part that you
Okay.
mentioned.
Okay. First of all, I'm going to start from this route. When we are growing up, right, we see our parents. We first thing we do is emulate how they walk, emulate how they talk, even how they brush their teeth. If we say our dad was in our head, our brush that we for no reason we just do that. So what emulation does is that it creates an opportunity to perfect skills. But the emulator must understand that emulation is only a journey, not a destination. Yeah, you must understand that to mimic a thing is only a journey, but not a destination. So the problem is that people get at the emulation phase. You know, if I'm learning to sing, I will first of all mimic the people I admire. It does not mean I am like them. I'm only using I'm only perfecting my skill while sounding like them until I start sounding like myself. Do you understand? So in this from this perspective, emulation should never be a destination, and not everything should be emulated. Yes, first, emulation is not a destination, and not everything should be emulated. Why I said that is because if I see now, we have seen, we know that family as a context is the truth. Irrespective of the era, it is the truth. And we know truth is neither progressive or conservative. So if you are saying you are being sophisticated by not calling home or by not having a community, it's not sophistication, it is malfunction. It is not literacy, but stupidity. So I can't emulate that because I know family being truth, my core value, is the truth. So if you are doing that, I cannot emulate that. I can only emulate what is good from you. Then after some time, I start having my own voice from that thing I've emulated from you. That's a healthy way to imbibe. You know, an example would be, let's say food, for instance. Let's say food. There's jollof, there's the Nigerian jollof, there's the Ghanaian jollof, there is Sierra Leonean jollof. They are all jollof rice, but everyone is making it. We all emulated each other, something that is good, but doing it in our own way and style, basically. You know, so I will not, because this culture, they're eating sand now. I can't emulate eating sand. So I don't know if that helps. So emulation is first a journey, not a destination. Secondly, if there's a level of healthy activity, not all things should be emulated. Yeah.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. I think I quite agree with that. I really agree with your submission, because when you talk about the family, right, we've seen certain, because now we're talking about rethinking Africa, right? And family unit is very, very important when it comes to Africans' culture, like you mentioned, culture and some African parenting style, right? I kind of agree, not everything should be emulated. For example, some people say, oh, I haven't seen my parent tell me that I love you. My dad has not told me that, oh, he loves me. Oh, this is like the African style. Oh, African parents will not tell you sorry, right? Oh, this is the African way of doing things. So yes, not everything, even if it's the most popular, right? Even if it's the most popular, does not make it the most sound, right?
Yes.
But then again, I can say that there are certain things that are worthy of emulation. For example, right, that really, for me, one of the things, again, I would say that sense of, you say, having a consciousness of who you are, just like you mentioned, and where you are coming from, right? Certain things that, oh, my parents have taught me, certain things I've come to know and understand that, no, even though I am away from my parents' control, away from their eyes, I'm able to restrict myself, right? I'm currently in the diaspora. When I see things happening in the diaspora, you cannot try this in an African household in a good way, right? Not because I feel like my parents were hard on me. No, they were not hard on me, but okay, this social construct does not align with everything that I've seen. This idea of community does not align with everything that I've seen. So thank you so much, sir, for emphasizing on that. And again, I want to ask, so with this surge of
Yeah.
Japa, okay, some people say don't say Japa, I'm not Japa.
Yeah.
With this surge of relocation, you spoke about how that the children should, learn take them to the village and all that wise. Do you think that is feasible? With the way everybody wants to run away, who will now rethink Africa? Who will rethink Nigeria for us? Please. Who will rethink Nigeria for us? The people are running. And me, I did not run, no. I did not run. I have a Nigerian. That's just my last
Yeah.
point. But then, how do we preserve this culture if we have a massive immigration, like out of the world? People are leaving, people are losing track. You can see someone that does not even know the road to their village, does not even know how to speak their language. How do we even preserve this thing if most of these persons are living this cross-cultural mix of, yes, in relation to family and rethinking Africa?
Okay, first thing is that it is an advantage. Yeah, it has its advantage. It's an advantage. And before I go into the advantages, I would say that not every African will be able to jackpot at the end of the day, because first of all, economically speaking, it's not possible. The people that can afford to jackpot is probably 5% of the population. The entire African population, 5%, at most 10% if things are very great, right? So realistically speaking, there are still Africans in Africa. Now, talking about the advantages, using music, for instance, when Afrobeats to the world, music was going to be a global phenomenon. For the second time, we had the first wave in the 70s via King Sunny Ade, Ebenezer Obey, Sunday Okosun, Victor Wifo, and the rest of them. They were touring the globe. Now, this second phase, the people that propagated Afrobeat to the world primarily were Africans who were living in the diaspora. So they were the first point of contact to the Westerners, presenting our cultures to them. Right? So why that was is because their ears were still on the ground back home to what was happening back home. Even before the age of internet, they will come back to Nigeria or DRC Congo, get the CD, then travel back with it. Then before you know, that distributing the CDs over there and sending more copies as the music is being accepted. Then in the digital age, almost the same thing. Now we have them talking about Afrobeat in the clubs, maybe a Nigerian DJ in a German club now, automatically, yeah, because the Nigerian DJ still has his ears back home. So there is that part, right? So it means we are getting some things right. We still communicate with ourselves to an extent. We still know what's going on. We still check up on our family. But I believe it can be much more, and that is by traveling back home, not just via digital conversation, video call, and all that. Because there are the strongest form of community is usually very geographic, right? As digital as we can be, we can only do the best by communicating digitally. Sometimes let's make the efforts by coming back home to just participate in a community project or something, right? It's one of the ways, because what defines community is not just chit chat, it's for purpose. Oh, let's do this in the community this year. Let's build this hospital. Let's jam festivals. These conversations. So they go back to. So it's like being an ambassador. And the concept of being an ambassador is that you are the one influencing, right? You're also being influenced, only that you filter the influence via the filter of your culture. You understand? So you don't just, because the world operates by diffusion. I'm diffusing on you, you're diffusing on me. In science, diffusion is the movement of particles from a region of higher concentration to that of a lower concentration, right? So sometimes we'll be in when it comes to our core values, always be in the region of higher concentration. But when it comes to systems that we think will improve our culture, being in the region of lower concentration, you understand? So it's the wisdom like you mentioned something about telling our children, I love you. That is a good thing. In our culture, it was not a thing, right? Now telling our children, I love you, saying it does not deform our culture. Rather, it further preserves the family unit. So we don't make the same mistake they made, where you have children growing up who do not understand what affection means. I hope that's covered a little bit of what you're saying.
Thank you so much, Dr. BMark. Thank you so much. Thank you. I don't know if there are any questions in the comment section. Please, technical team, help me so we can take that. Thank you so much once again for pouring out on all levels. Thank you, sir. My head is full. I have a lot of things to implement, right? But then thank you so much for for sharing with us really with such passion and from your wells of wisdom and knowledge. Thank you. We don't take that for granted. And we know that
Yeah.
you start seeing the fruits. You start hearing, oh, hi, I was part of GSS Summit. I heard when you spoke about it. Oh, I'm so intentional about knowing who I am. Retracing who I am and who I was. Thank you so much, Dr. BMAC. Okay. So I think there are no questions because I can't see any question here. Right. So it means that today people really assimilated though. Should I be worried?
You ask
Grand
who?
finale, okay. Let me assume. Let me assume, Dr. BMAC, you are so wonderful that people are just it's
Yes,
heavy
you
on them.
ask who?
It's heavy. it's so heavy. They're trying to process it, right? Yes. So thank you so much, sir, for staying with us, for speaking to us and pouring out yet again. We can't appreciate you. Words cannot do justice, right, to saying thank you. Thank you so much once again. Please, let's celebrate in the comment section. As Nano asks questions, I have to switch now. As Nano asks, I think you ask question, right? Celebrate him. Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry,
Okay, thank you.
I was thinking forward to a question though, but it's fine. I mean, if
Okay. No, I think they are loaded. I'm trying to speak, speak on their behalf, right?
it's
They are
fine.
very, very loaded. Thank you so much, sir. Okay,
You're
so
welcome.
right about now, grand finale. We have been thoroughly blessed. We have been thoroughly loaded. It's been 3 days of a journey. And like I said, it was a storm. From a storm to an avalanche to an outpouring. I'm even trying to look for the adjectives to quantify how I'm feeling and how I've been really, really impacted with such words of wisdom and, everything that has been said on this platform. Thank you so much. A big shout out to the speakers for making out time to be here, to be with us, to speak to us, to share with us. It's really not an easy thing. They would have had a lot of things to do, but they gave us their time. So please honor it by putting into practice everything that has been said. You want to be the change you are saying you want. You are looking for change. Let us change in Nigeria. Be the change. Oh, Africa needs to change. You are Africa, I'm African. So let the change start with you. Don't wait for, okay, let me not say it, right? I'm live. Don't wait for anybody to change. You start being the change, right? Be the change you want to see. Once you begin to contribute positively, imagine if 100 of us had to contribute positively. Before you know, in no distant time, right? It's gonna take a lot. No distant time, would really, really see that rethink, that thinking outside of the box that we've learned so far, and every other thing that we have been able to take note of and all action points. So yes, and also thanks to you too for staying. We're not done. No, don't go. People now they will now want to exist. Stay to the end. Don't miss. If I say we are finished, so, don't go away. Right? Yes. So right about now, also we're going to be bringing up the visioneer, right? The visioneer behind this, the one that bought the vision. Oh, a thought leader. I'll call him a thought leader in every sense, a very, very vocal and someone that is passionate about personal development, building, and the youth at large. And also, like we say, he doesn't want to think about such a thing. Definitely, they are watching. So please join me as I welcome up stage no other person but VC to the building. Woo! Please, let's clap or let's celebrate him as he come up. Thank you so much, sir. We are so happy to see you. I commend my reserve. Okay, at least I've made it smile. Oh, thank God, you see. Okay.
All right, good evening, everybody. Good evening, everybody. I'd want to especially appreciate us that are still live, people who are still around, and also want to appreciate everybody that came around and involved themselves in gleaning the wisdom throughout the 4 days. It's been a lot. It's been a lot, and the information from the first day I knew that we are in for a lot, and then we started to even consider, should we give more time? Should we should we have more time so that we can have immersive sessions? Elizabeth, thank you very much. You've been carrying this thing so well, and I'm sure people everywhere would, if not for anything, your smile. If not for anything, your smile. It can just light up the whole world, you know. Okay, so thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you. Thank you everybody that came around. Thank you to the team. Now, a lot has been said this night, and a lot has been said this night. And the first, okay, I don't want to say the first thing I want to point out. Let me just say this: if we would really cause a change, if we really get ourselves into the change we want, I know this sounds cliche, that the change begins with you. But see the thing, let me make it more, let me bring it home to you. You see, we have the responsibility, right, to immerse ourselves in information, right, that will bring the best out of us. We need to be deliberate and intentional in that immersion. Because, of course, yesterday, the speaker was talking about ideologies, countering ideologies with ideologies. And you see, ideologies form over time. Ideologies form over experience. Ideologies don't just happen. Ideologies have emotions attached to it. Ideologies have concepts attached to it that you don't, the reason why you're behaving is because the experience you have comes with emotions. I don't know whether you get it. So the thing now forms an ideology, and that's your best way of reacting and relating to the environment you have. Now, I'd want to encourage you, be deliberate and intentional. This Dr. BMAC session is, for me, is one of the high points of this event. And I'm not even trying to, I think everybody needs to go sit down again. The punchlines were too much. The punchlines were just too much. I'm sure some people, it will be hard for you to even catch up. So I'd want to plead with you, go back and listen to these conversations. Go back and listen to this. Of course, after now, the whole sessions will be made open for us to have access to them, right? So after now, I want to encourage you, go and glean again. Go over this thing again and again. And I'd want to say this before I go off. The community on WhatsApp is something we're going to maintain, and a lot of information to consolidate on what we're building, because it's not just about the conference, right? It's about what we want to achieve. So the conference or the summit is a means to the end. And there are a lot of other things we want to bring it into play to see that we all arrive into where we are going to, right? So Africa is not exactly a disadvantage. We know our peculiarities, and it's important that we are associating with the world with the true identity of who we are, not with a superiority perspective, as of course BMAC was saying, that superiority perspective that some extreme Africanists would want to shove down our throats, but with a proper awareness of our strengths and our weaknesses. That's actually what self-awareness is. We need to be aware of our strengths and our weaknesses so that we can engage our world better, so that we can, if you're jackparing or you're leaving the country, you want to jackpar, as we would say it, what's the higher purpose? It's not bad in itself, you get it, but what are you even doing? So self-awareness, understanding where we are, understanding our role in the grand scheme of things will help us in being the best, and of course creating the right atmosphere for our children. I'm always attuned to where we are headed to by the life we're living now, right? Our children will inherit a lot. We inherited a lot from our parents. You can inherit trauma. You can inherit more things than you can imagine. You can inherit inferiority, right? And it's just what it is. You inherit it, and then you're living in it as if it's your reality. I could recall that time our parents would tell us, don't speak your local language, that's bright kids speak Queen's English, right? So so the way, call me mom, call me, don't call me mama, So, but it's not those things as smooth as they sounded, as good as they sounded. Did that actually mean? Does it actually have a deep connection to our culture? And what is the meaning of it? You get it? And all these things were things that they borrowed, all the things that they inherited, the inferiority they inherited, they were trying to transfer back to us. So we need to. So what the tall and short? I don't want to take your time. The tall and short of what I'm saying is that our conversations will continue on the group. We are going to tell us the next direction after the summit, and of course, we're not stopping here. We're pushing these concerns, and we're pushing these concerns to make our society a better society, to make our young people more equipped to engage their world and to prepare the world for the next generation. Thank you one more time for coming around. Thank you for everybody who made GSS 2025 a huge success. I am very proud of you. I'm very proud of the team. I didn't show up here a lot of times, but they were going all out. They were all over the place. They were pushing. They went out of their way to see that that we had a very great time. And I want to give a very big shout out to all of them. You guys are the best. And I want to just drop 3 fire emojis for the team, for the organizing team. 3 fire emojis. Thank you, organizing team. Please, everybody drop 3 fire emojis. I want to be seeing it. Let it pump in now. Let it pump in. Thank you, organizing team. If you like the smile of your host, thank your host also. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thank you, Elizabeth. Mr. Harachi hosted yesterday. You can also thank him. Just let's appreciate. This is a free conference. People were burning their data. A lot of money was spent, actually. A lot of logistics were imputed to see that this thing come your way. So thank you very much, guys, for coming around. We'll see you later. Cheers.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, VC, for that amazing closing remark. I know, are we familiar with this sound? And with that, GSS Summit 2025 comes to an end. But then it is not over until it is over. And it can never be over, really. So like he said, the conversations on WhatsApp will still be ongoing. So please do well to follow through and stay true. Thank you so much, everyone, once again, for being a part. It is not over. This is just like, how do you say, like the dessert. There is more to come. The appetizer, yes. The appetizer. There is still the first course, the main dish, the secondo, as we say in Italian. There is the second dish. So please don't leave in a hurry, right? Join us as we continue in more and more conversations to come. So thank you so much once again. And with that, we'll call it a night. Have a pleasant night rest and see you at the other side. The other side, WhatsApp. Not the other side. Okay. Take care, everybody, and bye.
Across Africa, we know the problems. We've lived them, felt them, carried them. But the real question is, how do we fix them? This December, we are choosing to rethink what's possible with Giant Strides Summit 2025. Theme, the Third World Advantage. From the 4th to the 7th of December, seasoned thought leaders will chart the path forward. for those determined to build their future from here. For every young African seeking clarity, direction, and strategy. This is for you.